Hi. So today I want to talk a little bit about a concept called inertia, and I want to talk a little bit about how this relates to business and how it relates to life. I am here at the hotel. I'm upstate doing the class. I'm staying at the $41 Microtel Hotel. Not exactly the nicest lighting, and I also forgot to bring my XLR cable for the microphone, so I have to be right next to the camera. And I also managed to forget I didn't bring a tripod, but too much to bring anyway. I don't really plan on filming while I'm up here very much, just taking the occasional picture. Anyway, so today I want to talk a little bit about this concept of inertia, and I want to talk about how it ties into technology. I want to talk about how it ties into business, and I also kind of want to talk about how it actually ties into that why I don't use Apple products video, because I think a lot of people, like, just the comments I'm getting from that's actually the most popular video on this channel right now, and a lot of people kind of seem to have the wrong idea with it. Like, they think that I'm telling you that you shouldn't use them because they suck. When in reality, I'm not saying that they suck, you should not use them. I'm saying that here is why they don't work for me, because people always ask, you repair Apple products all day long, why don't you use one? And I'm giving my personal preference. My personal preference is my personal preference based on how I use the product. It has absolutely nothing to do with your personal preference, nor should my personal preference have anything to do with what you choose. You should choose what you enjoy. You should choose what makes you productive. Who cares what I think? The only person who should care about my personal preference is me, because I'm the only one who has to live with my personal preference. Make sense? So this is kind of a thing in technology where, like, people will be fanboys and they will suggest things that for other people based on their personal preferences. And those are the people in technology that kind of tend to fail, because you're suggesting what you like for somebody else. So it's kind of like with security systems. Let's say with security systems, people will like this new touchscreen thing that's on the wall that integrates with your phone that you could turn on and off via Wi-Fi, that sends you alerts on the temperature of your house via the internet and these applications and all this crap. And they'll go into an apartment building or this really old house with this 95-year-old couple. And I don't want to be stereotypical, but on average, if you're installing a security system for a 95-year-old couple, they're not going to want the touchscreen thing that integrates with, the latest KitKat, whatever version of Android's phones app to send you the temperature of it and all that shit, and to be able to unlock it. What they're going to want from you is they're going to want some kind of key thing where you put a key in, you turn that physical key, and that turns off the alarm or that turns on the alarm. So what you need to do is you need to understand the values of your customers, the values of your clients, in order to recommend for them solutions that will work for them. You should not recommend solutions based on your personal preferences. You should recommend solutions for other people based on their personal preferences. I answer the question of why I don't use Apple products by telling you what it is I don't like about them, or what it is that doesn't fit my personal needs or my personal wants at the time. That does not mean that you shouldn't use them. You should use what you like. You should use what you enjoy. You should use what makes you productive. And again, who cares what somebody else thinks? I don't think less of you because you choose to use it. You have different preferences than I do. That's fine. I'm not going to use them because they drive me nuts. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't use them, and vice versa. So on to this concept of inertia here. So this is kind of something that was really introduced to me by this hotel that I'm staying in. So we're doing the course at a place called the Holiday Inn, and we're paying for a room there, but then we're also paying for the conference room that we're doing the course in. So I'm paying for my room, and then we also pay for the conference room that we're doing this practical board repair school in. And what I want to talk about here is the concept of inertia. And again, before we get into how this relates to technology and business, how this simply relates to my hotel. I was paying $100, something around $100 a night with the course discounts, which started off at $100 a night. I knew there were cheaper alternatives to this to do the class. I knew that I could get cheaper if I really worked for it, but I just kind of like the convenience of saying, if I'm done with the course and I just want to go to my room and take a nap, or I just want to go to my room to research something, or I just want to go to my room to rest, I walk 8 steps out from the course. Literally, I walk 8 steps out from the course door, and I'm in my hotel room. And I figured I'm supporting the hotel that I'm using to do the course, and it was a nice enough place. And $100 a night really seemed reasonable, so I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do the research to figure out if there's better alternatives. I'm not going to do the research to see if there's something better nearby. I don't even really feel like walking. It's just best to just do it like this. So these little things like having to do research and walking may have saved me money, but at $100 a night, I'm like, screw it, let me stay here. So then the next time I do the course, Now it's 120 bucks a night or something around 120 bucks. It's like, oh, okay, peak season, you guys raised the rates a little. Sucks, but convenient. I know it's good. I know that it's not that I'm not going to have cockroaches. I know that I'm going to prefer that I'm just sitting here and I'm leaving the course to walk literally 8 steps out to go back to my room. Well, I'll do it. Right? So then we go for the third. Actually, this is the 4th session, but this is the 3rd time I'm traveling up here. So this is the 3rd time I'm traveling up here to do this course. And now the hotel is not $120. It's not $124. It's $154.99 a night. These motherfuckers want $155 a night for me to stay in a little shitbox in the middle of nowhere. It's a nice hotel, but it's a nice shitbox. It's a tiny little room with, no frills hotel, no special features. The hotel breakfast, that probably comes out of the same type of the container that Amtech Flux comes in. Like it's disgusting and it's evil and it's chemical. There's nothing special about this hotel. So not only am I bringing you regular business, not only are we bringing you 5 or 6 or 8 or 10 people at a time that are staying here for a week and spending $150 a night here. Not only are we paying for this course room, not only are we fairly low maintenance, but you are raising our rates like 10 to 20% every time you come here. So at 155, I said, you know what? Fuck this. Let me do some research. So again, before it was like, I don't really feel like doing the research, but now you've kind of given me reason to break the inertia. You've given me a reason to stop doing what I was doing before. Again, a big reason that people do things. A big reason that people in business do things. It's like, I'm doing this today because I did this yesterday. I did it yesterday, might as well do it today. And since nothing happened to piss me off about what I'm doing today, nothing really happened to piss me off about doing business with you today, just because I did it today, and just because I just have other shit to deal with on my plate. I have other things on my mind. I have people to hire. I have a course to plan. I have an online flowchart that I'd like to make and to create a subscription service for. I have 54 machines that I bought from a shit company that I need to sell and put in the window. I have things I got to do. Just because of that, I just don't want to think about the hotel. So tomorrow, I'm going to do the same thing I did today. Today, I'm doing it because I did it yesterday. Now that you have raised that price 20%, not once, but twice, I now have a reason to break this inertia. So I do a little bit of research, and I figure out that this place called the Microtel is literally, it's right next to the Holiday Inn. Like, I am going to walk for half the length of a song that's on my phone. I'm going to walk for half the length of a song, and I'm going to be there. And this place is $41.99. It's $41.99 a night, right? So, and now, again, I didn't really feel like doing the research. I was actually, believe it or not, I was actually okay spending an extra $50 a night just to not have to do the research to figure out if this place had cockroaches. That was it. Like, this place could have been beautiful. I just did not even feel like researching it. I just had so much other shit on my mind. I have 11 students coming, paying $800 apiece. Call me crazy. I would rather spend that $30 planning a lesson plan or doing something else with my life than visiting a hotel and looking at it and researching it and blah, blah, blah. But now that I'm here, you know what I noticed at the $41.99? I have laundry. The Holiday Inn didn't have laundry. This place is $41.99 and doesn't have cockroaches. The Holiday Inn is $120 to $150 and doesn't have cockroaches. I don't actually mind that 1.5 minute walk. What I noticed is that I very often wasn't walking back to my room anyway. So while I liked the idea that I could walk right back to my room, and it was only 8 steps away if I really wanted to, what I noticed when I think about it is I was never really walking just 8 steps back to my room. I was never really going back and forth. The Holiday Inn actually has a really excellent restroom in the back. It's one of those private restrooms where the sink is right next to the toilet and nobody else can walk in and you can lock it. So their public restroom is actually the same as a private restroom. So I'm not even losing the idea of having a private restroom while I'm doing the course. If I feel like taking a crap and I want to take my time and not have people try to walk in on me, and I want to be able to clean the toilet seat before and then, and all that kind of stuff, I can actually do that in private without having a room there. And I noticed that once you kicked me over the edge, so once you decided to kick me over the edge and say, fuck you, we're not raising your rate 20% once, we're raising your rate 20% twice in a row, and, and fuck you, fuck the fact that you're bringing us over $5,000 or $10,000 of business a month, fuck you, we don't care that you're an easy customer that never complains, no, we're just going to keep raising your rate. Once you broke that inertia, what I realized is that Other businesses actually aren't that bad. Your alternatives are not bad. I should have done the research to begin with. Not only is this hotel less than half the price of your original rate, and 1/3 to 1/4, and yeah, it's actually after the taxes and everything and all the little fees. This room is 1/4. It is 25% the cost of what the fucking Holiday Inn wants. It's actually better. It's actually a better hotel. Holiday Inn has no laundry. This place has laundry. So this is, believe it or not, for the way I use a hotel, I actually think that this is a better hotel. Also, not to mention here, the toilet paper here is better. So the Holiday Inn has that toilet paper where when you wipe your ass, even if I prefer to wipe my ass using, let's say, a little drop of soap and water on the first roll because I'd like to actually be clean and not just use dry paper to wipe crap up and down. When you wipe your ass at the Holiday Inn, that toilet paper bunches up into 15 little pieces of paper and just falls apart in your ass because they buy the 10-cent roll of toilet paper. The Microtel here actually buys better quality toilet paper than the toilet paper that I have at home. You can't break that stuff off into little pieces, and it also feels soft. It feels like I'm wiping my ass with like a $20 towel or something. I mean, it's amazing. And this is at a $41.99 hotel. So not only is the laundry better, but the facilities are better, the materials are better, and it costs 1/4 as much. The other downside of staying at a different hotel was that, well, I'd have to walk. I'm going to have to walk that distance, and I'd rather just not. You know what I realized after I stayed here? I don't mind the walk. It's a 1-minute long walk. That walk takes no time at all. It doesn't take away from anything. Having my own private bathroom in a room really doesn't matter because the Holiday Inn's public bathroom is actually better quality than the private bathroom that's in the hotel room. And I'm not really going back to the hotel room all the time anyway. So here's the thing about inertia that's really important with business. This is a really important concept for any business that has clients that they have to deal with. So you had me. Even though your solution was not the best, you had me. But now, once you kind of kick me over the edge and say, fuck you, and you cause me to go to another business, what I'm going to notice is that other business that I had irrational reasons for not using, just because I didn't feel like doing research, is better than yours. You're not going to be able to get me back. So let's say the Holiday Inn says, you know what, we're sorry that we raised your rate from $100 to $150. We'll bring you back to $100. Do you think I'm going to go back there? In the beginning, I was ecstatic to be paying $100. I was even kind of ecstatic to be paying $124. But now that you've forced me to visit another business because you've broken the inertia, and now that I see that this other business is $41.99 for this beautiful hotel room where I have laundry, where I have nice toilet paper, where I have a nice entrance, it's pretty much the same shit, just a little bit nicer for $41.99. You could tell me that my room, you know what? We're sorry, Lewis. We're going to make your room $90. I don't want it. And again, remember, in the beginning, I was happy to have this room for $100. I was happy to have that room for $124. But now since I've seen something else, I wouldn't take that room for $90. I wouldn't take that room for $80. I wouldn't take a room at the Holiday Inn for $50. And you know what? I might not even take a room at the Holiday Inn for $40, for cheaper than this one, just because I realized that this had laundry. And it's silly. It really is. You may say, like, why didn't you just stay here all along? Well, I didn't know that this had laundry. Why didn't I know it didn't have laundry? Because I never did the research. Why didn't I do the research? Because $100 a night to stay at a seemingly nice hotel that was literally right next to the course I was doing, it just seemed like a fine deal. And when people get something that they think seems like a fine deal, the way our brain works, we just don't do the research if we're very busy to find what may be a slightly better deal. And again, if I have 11 students that are paying $800 to take a course with me, is my priority going to be coming up with a curriculum for them and helping them? Is my priority as a business owner going to be helping me serve my customers, taking 54 machines that I need to refurbish and sell and getting them in the window, working on a new subscription-based service that is a flow chart of every piece of information in my brain that's going to help you fix motherboards, working on getting new clients for this camera and security system installation business that I've got going? Or is it going to be saving a couple of bucks in a hotel? When I have spare time, when I sit down at 1 a.m. and I say, okay, I have no customers in front of me, I have spare time, what am I going to do? It's not going to be researching a new hotel. The only time I'm going to actually be forced to research new hotels is when you force me to. So once you break the inertia, the whole idea here is that you're giving me an opportunity to do research on what may be better than you. And when you do that, lose this position where you're not the best business. You're not the best business even for me, but I'm still using you and giving you money. And you now get put into this weakened position where you could actually be a pretty kick-ass business, but I don't care anymore. The Holiday Inn, again, they can lower their rate from 150 to 40, and I still don't want to go there. And it's not because of spite. It's not because I hate them. They're a fine hotel. It's just I have found better. So now you went from being able to charge $100 to $120 a night for a hotel that does not have laundry and good toilet paper. You've gone from that to not being able to charge me $40 for that same hotel with no laundry and bad toilet paper. Why? Because you've given me reason to look elsewhere. And if you want to think about some examples of this, let's just think of something like Microsoft. Let's just think of something like Windows. So people used Windows Windows 3.1 and 95 because people had used DOS. Let's face it, DOS blew up in just like that. The CP/M and the other operating systems, they just got owned. People decided that they wanted to use DOS. Whether or not it was the best, I'm not going to get into any of that. Just DOS was one of the most popular consumer operating systems in the in the late 80s, early 90s for a lot of that whole PC revolution. So people used Windows 3.1 and 95 because they had used DOS. Then when Windows 98 came out, they said, I used Windows 95 yesterday. I'm using Windows 95 today. Tomorrow, they tell me to use Windows 98. It looks pretty much the same. It works pretty much the same. I'm going to use that. Then Windows Millennium Edition comes out. Windows Millennium Edition is a complete clusterfuck. It is slow. It is crashy. It is buggy. It is a pile of shit. But you know what? People are actually putting up with that complete pile of shit because it would take more work for me to switch to a new operating system. I'd have to find all new software, all new programs. I'd have to learn how to use it. I'll just deal with this because I used Windows 98 yesterday. I used Windows 98 today. I'm supposed to use this tomorrow. It's not the best, but it does what I need. And then Windows XP comes out. They fixed a lot of the things that made Windows Millennium Edition a big pile of shit. Windows XP was a bit better than Millennium Edition. And again, we were using Windows yesterday. It worked. We used it today. It worked. So tomorrow, I'm probably not going to turn my life upside down to learn a new operating system. I got more important things to do with life. I'll just use Windows XP. And Windows XP, oh my God, it just gets owned and sodomized and skull-fucked by every single virus under the sun. And then Service Pack 1 comes out and they fix a little. And then they get sodomized and skull-fucked and owned by every single virus under the moon. And then Service Pack 2 comes out. And then they get sodomized and skull-fucked by every single, you get the idea. Like Windows XP was just security train wreck after security train wreck after security train wreck. But we used Windows yesterday. It pissed me off, but it kind of worked, so I used it again today. It pissed me off a little, but for the most part it worked, so tomorrow I will use Windows. Then Windows Vista comes out, and Windows Vista is, oh my, like I remember trying to open Internet Explorer when I reinstalled Windows Vista on a machine with a brand new drive. This is a brand new, pretty fast hard drive for the time, on a working computer. Reinstall Windows Vista from scratch, and I hit the Internet Explorer icon. It took 90 seconds for Internet Explorer to open on a fresh install on a known working computer. I mean, if you want to go into all the things that made Vista suck, we could go into a 6-hour video on that. Windows Vista was one of the biggest piles of shit that Microsoft ever released. But still, even though Windows Vista was the biggest pile of crap anybody had ever seen in their lives, it looked a little bit like Windows. They had some shitty icons on there, but it kind of looked like Windows. It kind of worked like Windows. And on rare occasion, if you begged it, it would just turn on and do its job. And since people had been using Windows yesterday, and they knew how it worked, and they were kind of using Windows today, and they knew how it worked, tomorrow, even if you changed a little bit of it and you made it a little shittier, people are going to bitch. People are going to hate it. People are going to say this sucks. And some of those people are even going to change to new operating systems. But most of the world is still going to use Windows. Then Windows 7 comes out, and it's kind of a bug-fixed version of Vista, and people are happy. But then Windows 8 comes out. And Windows 8 is part of this is the pivotal moment in Microsoft's downfall. And this is something that is going to kill them for a really long time, and it's going to fuck Microsoft very badly. The problem with Windows 8 is Windows 8 was the moment where Microsoft broke the inertia. Windows 8 is where you have all these people that were using Windows because at the very least, even if it sucked, even if they had viruses, even if it ran slow after 6 months, even if all this shit didn't work and it was buggy and blah, 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 they knew how to use it. Fundamentally speaking, people were familiar with Windows. People had this 10 to 15-year love affair with Windows. They saw Windows everywhere. They used Windows everywhere. Everybody knew how to use it. Everybody made software for Windows, and people just did not want to switch unless they had a gun put to their head. And that gun was Windows 8, because whether you are somebody who is new to computers, whether you're somebody who's not new to computers but not savvy with them, or you're a technology professional, all computer users in the world united when Windows 8 came out, and when they booted it up, whether you're my 66-year-old dad that is been using computers for a while but ain't really the most computer literate, or you're a technology professional, we all united when we turned on a computer with Windows 8 and looked at it and said, "What the fuck is this? What the fuck did you do to my start menu? How do I use any of this shit? I have one application on my screen. How do I get to another app? How do I get back? What do I do? What have you done to my computer?" So since with Windows 8, again, a lot of this was fixed with Windows 8.1. They made a lot of it better. But Windows 8.1 took a while to come out. So when you first did that, again, Windows was never the fastest. Windows was never the most secure. Windows was never the best coded. All Windows had was that when you turned it on, it just worked. So, it worked with your hardware. Your Wi-Fi card worked out of the box. Your video capture hardware worked out of the box. And B, it was familiar. So pretty much it came with the computer. You knew that the most basics of the computer worked. And also you knew that it was familiar to you. So what you've done is you've taken away the fact that the user knows how to use the computer. So pretty much you've taken away one of the fundamental good things about the Microsoft operating system to the end consumer. What you've done there is you broke the inertia. Now, these people are like, well, I don't want to move to Mac because if I move to Mac, my applications may not be for Mac. Oh, God, I don't know how to use a Mac. I hear that Macs are so much more expensive, and, there's no right mouse button. I don't want to get something that doesn't have a right mouse button, What am I going to do? So then, that user, again, they have all these thoughts in their head, and those thoughts are what kept them on Windows 98. Those thoughts are what kept them on Windows Millennium Edition when it was slow. Those thoughts are what kept them on Windows XP when you had all the viruses. Those thoughts kept them on Windows Vista when you had all the bugs. But when you get to Windows 8, people are so traumatized that you've broke the inertia. Microsoft pretty much told their customers, fuck you. And that big fuck you caused the customer to say, I don't care about any of these doubts, let me switch. And then when the customer switches, they realize, wait a second, a Mac Mini is like $500. All these people are saying that Macs are these crazy expensive computers, but I can buy a Mac Mini for $500, and I can buy a monitor at Best Buy and a keyboard and all that for like $90. That ain't really that much more than what I paid for my PC. And then I only have one mouse button thing. Well, hey, I can use a regular mouse that I used on my PC with a Mac, and the right mouse button click works. And then my apps don't work. My apps only work on Windows. Well, it's 2015 now, right? So you're like, wait a second. A lot of the applications I'm using actually work in any web browser. And I could use Firefox or Chrome on a Mac the same way I can on a PC. And even if I don't like QuickBooks for Mac, and they make QuickBooks for Mac now, which they didn't a long time ago, I can actually use it online. And my ticketing software kind of sucks. They actually make amazing ticketing software that's in the cloud so I can load it in Firefox. So I don't even have to worry about that anymore. So I had all these doubts, right? So I'm not saying me because I'm not the person who switched to Mac, but let's say I got all these doubts in my head about why it would be a good idea to switch. I'm wondering if it would be a good idea for me to switch from this old platform to this new platform. And that's kind of keeping me from switching because, again, I got more important things to do. I may have a business to run. I may have kids I have to spend time with. I may have plans for vacation with my wife, or whatever it is that I want to do. But And that's the stuff I want to spend time on, not migrating operating systems. But when you give me a computer that I fundamentally have no idea how to use, now I'm kind of forced to switch over to something that is on some basic level usable. And when I switch, what I realize is that a lot of my fears were kind of unfounded. That's the concept of inertia. Like the only reason that I'm continuing to do what I'm doing today, tomorrow, is because it was what I was doing today. There's no good reason for it. It's just because I have no compelling reason to look elsewhere. Once you give somebody a compelling reason to look elsewhere, what you may find is that your inferior product that you actually had the right to sell as an inferior product, you lose that right to sell that inferior product to that person because you've given that person reason to figure out that other products are maybe better than yours. And let's say that person may want to switch to Linux. That person may say, "Oh, well, you have to go through so much shit, and you have to read 60 man pages just to get your Wi-Fi to work, and the applications are not going to work, and you can't edit video, and blah blah blah." That's what that person thought back when Windows 2000 was out, back when Windows Millennium Edition was out, back when Windows XP was out. I remember 2004 very well. I remember that if I wanted Wi-Fi to work on my laptop, I had to sit down with NDIS wrapper, I had to get trolled in IRC, I had to read 60 man pages, and I had to have that shit not work for 3 hours, and then on the 4th hour finally get Wi-Fi. That was 2004. 2015 is I take Debian Linux, I plug the USB stick in, it boots perfectly, like everything in the computer works just fine when it boots in 20 seconds. My Wi-Fi works, my video capture hardware works, like everything works out of the box. Believe it or not, on some of my computers, Linux actually has better driver support out of the box than Windows. Windows may be able to support more hardware, but when I boot out of the box, like my video, I have 1080p on the screen already. I don't have to install video drivers to get that. My Wi-Fi works already. I don't have to install network card drivers to get that to work. Everything actually, believe it or not, my fear that I had was actually unfounded. My fear made sense in 2004. It doesn't make sense in 2014. And I can use Kdenlive as a video editor. It may not be the best, but it actually works. And some of the versions, sometimes they don't even crash. And it actually can do proxy clips and do some of the cool stuff the Windows video editors do. So once I switch, I may have been willing to pay $100 for Windows 7. But now after I use Linux for free, you could not deposit $500 into my personal checking account to be using Windows 8.0. You couldn't. And again, while I may have spent money on Windows before, now that I've seen something else, it's like, you know what? All the things I thought were wrong. Like, I was afraid that my video editor wouldn't work. There's a video editor that works. I was afraid that my bookkeeping wouldn't work. Wait a second. There's QuickBooks Online. Now you've given me a reason to do research. Before, with Windows 7, I had no reason to do research. I had no reason to figure out that, hey, I can use QuickBooks in the cloud so that I'm not stuck on Windows. I had no reason to do that basic research. But once you fuck up my core operating system, you've given me a reason to do that research. And when I have a reason to do that research, I'll figure out that there are other products out there that are actually a lot better than yours. And that's the thing with inertia. Like, again, going back to that video about why I don't use Apple products, I was actually answering a question. I wasn't saying that Apple products are trash for everybody. Again, do I object to the fact that I think that their hardware is made shitty in some ways? Yes, because this is just objective fact. I mean, this is not subjective. Like, if this T520, it's subjective whether you think this looks like shit, right? That's a subjective thing. Some people will think it looks like shit. Some people will think it looks nice. But what is an objective fact is that if you spill water in the keyboard of a T520, it's going to go around tape on the motherboard, and it's going to come out of a drainage hole in the bottom, and there's a 99% chance that you're not going to fuck up the inside of the computer. Whereas it is an objective fact that if you take a Retina MacBook Pro and you spill that same gallon of water into the keyboard while it's on and editing video, that thing is just fucked and dead because there is no system in the computer to handle liquid spills. It's not as durable. It's an objective fact that the 2008-9 MacBook Pros, the display assembly is not one piece. It's literally two pieces glued together. And it's an objective fact that the fan spits out hot air onto the glued together parts that when you move it back and forth, it falls apart into pieces. While it's objective fact that the material this is made out of, you can drop this shit off of a ladder and it's just going to get a tiny little crack in the corner but not fall apart. But the subjective aspect of it, and really the subjective aspect, that's only for me to say for my personal preference. Again, whether or not this will handle a liquid spill better or whether or not this will handle falling off of a ladder better, that's just objective. That's just material and build and like how it's put together. Again, that has nothing to do with opinion. It has nothing to do with my opinion. It's just kind of a fact. This thing it's just made in a more durable fashion. But what is a subjective thing is the use of it. You know, whether I prefer the menus of an Android phone versus an iPhone, whether I prefer the user interface of an Android device versus an iPhone, whether I prefer the interface of XFCE in Linux versus Mac OS X. That's totally subjective. Whether I like it or not has nothing to do with whether you will like it. And a lot of the concepts that I was going over in that video on why I don't use Apple products, again, I wasn't saying that you should not use them because they suck. That, you know, again, a lot of you read all those comments and you can just tell that people were listening to 5 seconds of the video with their own bias in their head of, this guy's going to be bashing the product I like, so fuck him, asshole. Instead of getting the point, which is you should use the product that works for you. You should use what makes you productive, and again, fuck who cares what I think. So in that video, I wasn't actually announcing to the world that you should not use Apple products. What I was saying in that video is that this is why I don't, because people ask. They say, hey, you have 300 open tickets repairing Apple products right now. You have these tickets every single day. You have an online video series where you are teaching the world how to repair motherboards and Apple products that nobody else is doing. Why is it that you don't use them? And I'm answering that question. And the concept of inertia really comes into play here. And the reason I say that is because a lot of the concepts that I'm bringing up in the video are things that are no longer true. So people in this video are asking me things like, hey, I bring up the iPhone couldn't copy and paste. I bring up that the iPhone was locked on AT&T. I bring up things that have not been true for a long fucking time. So people are looking at me like, hey, what type of retard are you? Don't you realize that an iPhone can copy and paste? Don't you realize you can get an iPhone on almost any carrier nowadays? And it's like, yes, I do. But I no longer care, again, because of this concept of inertia. The thing with inertia is that at the time that I tried an iPhone, I could not copy and paste. At the time that I tried an iPhone, I could only use it on AT&T. And at the time that I tried an iPhone in New York City, in Manhattan, AT&T had an unusable network. So I decided, okay, let me try a different device. I tried an Android device, and I could copy and paste. I could browse the web quickly on it, and I could use a carrier like Verizon, where if I made a phone call, I had a good chance of that phone call not dropping because I walked from this side of the room to the other side of the room, which, again, that's something you could not say about AT&T back in 2008 and early 2009. You couldn't. The service just was dog shit. So here's where the concept of inertia comes into play. You can say that it's changed. You can say that, well, you can copy and paste on an iPhone now. Well, you can use an iPhone on a different carrier now. What, are you stuck in the past? And the thing is, I kind of am, because my Android phone, here's the thing, they haven't given me a reason to stop using it. Again, Windows 8.0 gave a lot of people the reason to stop using it. They gave a lot of people the reason to wake up and do research to find something else. For me, I was sick and tired of using a BlackBerry. I was sick and tired of the fact that I had to take the battery out because it would freeze for no good reason sometimes. I was just sick and tired of how there was just an inherent lag in a lot of the things that I would do. I was tired of the fact that I had to use the Opera Mini web browser because the web browser that comes with it sucked. And there were so many things I couldn't do in Opera Mini, but that I could do in the regular browser. It was just annoying to me. So that was the point at which I said, you know what? I'm breaking the inertia. I'm a BlackBerry user, but I'm going to switch to something that is not Stone Age technology. And I decided at that point to look. And when I looked, what the iPhone offered me was, fuck you, you use AT&T. Fuck you, you don't copy and paste. Fuck you, you don't show up as a mass storage device. Now, by the way, the whole not showing up as a mass storage device, that's still true in 2015. I got to jailbreak the fucking phone. I got to waste time to turn it into a mass storage device. It's totally clear to me that those things with with the iPhone, it's totally clear to me. I'm not a retard. I follow technology. I'm fully fucking aware that you've been able to use an iPhone on Verizon for like 5 years now. I'm totally aware that you've been able to copy and paste for longer than that. But here's the reality of it. Here's the reality of business and the reality of life. I don't care. because I tried something else. And when I found that something else that worked for me, I started using it. And because the Android phone worked for me yesterday, because I use it today, and because the Android phone worked for me today, I'm going to use it tomorrow. Someday, Samsung or Google, someday Samsung or Google may do something very similar to what Microsoft did with Windows 8.0. And they may do something to ruin this. They may do some clusterfucky bullshit thing that causes me to say, fuck this, I don't want to use this device anymore. And when that happens, I may decide to do the research to see what other people offer. But the reality of how business works, and the reality of how the world works, and the reality of how people works is that until you give them a reason to break the inertia, they're just going to do what they always did. They're just going to do what they always did. They're going to do what they do if what they do works and what they do satisfies them. So if you want to break the inertia, you have to do something that is, to win me back, you kind of have to do something kind of amazing, right? Again, like with the hotel, I was happy to stay at that hotel for $100, even though it cost more than twice this hotel to actually be a worse hotel. But now that you've broken the inertia by charging me $155 for the same thing, you caused me to do research and figure out that this hotel that's $41 has nicer toilet paper, has laundry, and the rooms are pretty much the same thing. So I'm staying here now. You can't win me back for $100 if you go back to your original rate. You actually can't win me back at $90 or $80 or $70. You got to do something amazing now. Like you have to have you have to build an amazing outdoor pool, or you have to get a water slide, or I don't know. You have to do some. You have to have some type of organic breakfast cooked by a 5-star chef in order to get me back, even at your original price of $100, because I've found something better. And the same thing is true with this. Like Windows really lost people with Windows 8.0. So people were happy to have an operating system that looked like it was from 1995. People were happy to have an operating system with security flaws. People were happy to have an operating system that gets slow over time. All people wanted was something that basically worked and basically functioned, that was basically familiar. And you took that away from them. And then when people figured out that, wait a second, I can run Linux, never have to worry about a virus again for almost virtually the rest of my life, and it'll boot up and work with all of my hardware. And I can run all my old apps that I used to use in the cloud, so I don't have to care about the operating system. Yeah, fuck that. So you can fix it. Again, you can bring back the Windows 7 interface. You can even make your operating system free. But what you're going to find is that now it's not about how good your operating system is anymore. It's about whether or not it's worth switching from something else. So you can go back to what you had before, but that's the thing. Once somebody switches, they're done. Once that person switches to Linux and they've done the migration and they figure out that they could do everything that they could before in Linux, they're not looking every single fucking day to see if Windows changed. They're not going, hey, did Windows bring the old interface back? Hey, did Windows bring the old interface back? Hey, did Windows bring the old interface back? No, they don't care anymore. It's not a concern to them. The only thing that's going to concern them is A, if you do something really fucking groundbreaking, like Windows 10 is the only operating system compatible with a 3D printer that is so good that you can give it this camcorder and it will print you out a brand new $3,000 camcorder. Like that will get people to switch. Or if something terrible happens to Linux, like something happens tomorrow where Linux has no hardware support for any of the things in any of the new machines ever, that would get people to switch. But other than that, like, you're not going to get that user back. You either have to now create some ridiculous revolution to break the inertia that they have with their new piece of technology or their new business relationship, or you have to hope and pray that your competitor just fucks up so colossally that your users come running back to you. But for the most part, people simply use what they used yesterday today because it worked yesterday, and they use tomorrow what they use today because it worked today. Like, this hotel room is good today. I did laundry in this place today, and the laundry actually worked. I don't have to, like, walk 1 or 2 miles down the road with a heavy laundry bag or beg my friend to, let me do laundry in her house. I can just walk downstairs and put quarter into the machine, walk back up here, watch TV, and be set. And the same thing is true with the phone. Like, I'm not looking. You have to realize this. When I get a system that works for me, so when I decided I'm going to switch from the BlackBerry to the Android phone because the iPhone can't copy and paste and the iPhone sticks me on AT&T. Here's what you need to realize. It's not about me being a retard and not knowing that the iPhone copies and pastes. I'm in the technology business. I'm very fucking aware that the iPhone can copy and paste and be used on other carriers. That's that. It took work for me to find the exact email app I like on this. It took work for me to find the exact application that I like on this, for viewing the cameras in my store remotely, for managing my to-do lists, for doing all the things that I want my phone to do and setting it up the exact way I want. That took time. And I'm set with this, and it works, and I like it. Realistically speaking, I am not checking, I'm not clicking a bookmark to Slashdot or some news website or Mac Rumors every fucking day to figure out if today is the day that the iPhone can copy and paste. I'm not clicking every single day to figure out if today is the day that the iPhone works on Verizon. I'm not. I've just moved on with my life. And even if you wind up creating one that does that, I don't care. Because now that's not really enough to break the inertia. It's not enough to break the inertia that I have with this product, because I spend so much time with this product getting it to do what I want. And I don't really want to spend time with a new product to get it to do the same thing. Again, I'm going to switch from one product to another if there is a large, compelling reason to. I'm not going to switch if, it can do a lot of the same things yours does right now, but you have to deal with this learning curve, and you have to deal with this learning curve to pretty much do the exact same shit that you're doing right now. And you have to spend more money on a new product to do the same thing that you're doing right now with a learning curve. And you can't spend time with your family, or you can't spend time on this business idea, or you can't spend time writing this new course curriculum because you spent it switching from an Android phone to an iPhone. That's that. So it's not about this whole concept of this product sucks for everybody, so you shouldn't use it. And because the iPhone can't copy and paste in 2015, you shouldn't use it. No, that's silly. That's dumb. That's just internet trolls just making shit up because it's fun for them to make shit up. What it really is that at the time that I used it, it didn't have the features I wanted. Since it didn't have those features, I found something else. And when I found that something else, I stuck with it. So the moral of the story here is, if you're making money off of your customers, and deep down you know that you have competitors that make a similar product for less money, or that make a much better product for the same amount of money, or if you have a competitor that offers a product that's really compelling to your existing customers, I'm not saying that you should blow your existing customers. What I'm saying is that you should just treat them with a basic courtesy and understand that there are other places they can go. I treat a lot of the people that I deal with again, I'm not gonna blow anybody to get their business, but I treat them with a basic level of respect if they're paying me, where I understand that you can go somewhere else. Again, the other place may not be as good some of the time, but sometimes they may be as good or better or cheaper. Who knows? But I treat you with that basic respect, that I appreciate your business. And I appreciate your business because I want to keep that inertia going. I don't want to give you a reason to say, you know what? They did a decent job, and fuck these guys. Let's see who else I can use. Because as good as I am at what I do, and as confident as I am in who I am, I know that there are smarter people out there than I am. I know there are people out there that have more money and more resources than I am. And I know that sometimes the people who are smarter than me and the people who are better than me may also be the people who have more money and greater resources than me. And the reality of the way the world works is that there are billions and billions of people on this planet, and there's got to be at least one person out there that's smarter than me, that has better resources than me, that has better circumstances than me. And I sure as fuck hope that that my clients don't find that person, because if they find that person that is smarter than me, combination of smarter than me, gets along with people better than me, knows more than me, and has more money and resources than me, then in reality there ceases to be as many reasons to use me. So I'm not about saying that competition shouldn't exist. I'm okay with the idea of competition existing. I'm totally okay with other people doing what I do. But what I do is I try to make your experience with me so great that even if there is somebody who's cheaper, even if there is somebody who's better, even if there is somebody who may be a little nicer, there's just no reason, because I do such a job of trying to make your experience good that you don't have reason to break the inertia, that you don't have reasons to check and see that there's a hotel for half price, 1 minute away that has laundry. I don't want you figuring that out. I'm not going to stop you from figuring it out, but I'm going to put effort into offering you such a good overall package that there's no real reason to break the inertia. And that's the thing that I think a company like Microsoft should have been focused on. Realistically speaking, Microsoft has not had the ability to innovate in the consumer space for a really long time. They may have good server products and they may have good professional products, but for the most part, their phones don't really catch on. Their digital audio players don't really catch on. Their portable media players don't really catch on. And to be honest with you, people don't like Windows because it's so advanced. People don't like Windows because it is the cutting edge of technology. People like Windows because when they were a kid, when the average 20-something-year-old technical person was a kid, they started on Windows, they knew how Windows worked, and it's easy to be familiar with it because in 10 or 20 years, very little has actually changed. And that's what people like. And what you did is you kind of took that away and you gave people a reason to look at something else. And when people look at something else, they really start to notice just how inadequate your fucking product was all along and how little they needed it. And that's something that you should be thinking about. And that's something that I think about. Again, this is something I think about with my own business. I don't want to be the Holiday Inn. I don't want to be the hotel that realizes that they are charging 2 or 3 times as much for a shittier hotel than the one right down the road that's $40. And even if I wind up being that hotel, at the very least, I'm going to have the good sense to realize that I got a good thing going. I shouldn't try to break the inertia that I have with my customers and cause them to do research and look elsewhere. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to have the best product. I'm not saying that you shouldn't try to have the best product and service at the best price. You should do your best to be as competitive as you can. But at the same time, you should understand this concept of inertia in business, and you should understand why it is that you should give your customers the least possible reasons to break the inertia with you, and you should realize and understand why it is valuable to just have a basic level of respect for people who walk in your door, who give you money. I'm not talking about those people that wave their $100 bill when you say this iPhone repair is 100 plus tax, and they're like, well, I have $100. It's like, you can suck a dick because you're kind of trying to dangle a carrot in front of me and hope that I jump for it. Fuck you. I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about the people who regularly spend money with your business. When you find people who regularly spend money with your business, treat them with respect. Smile at them even if you don't really want to smile at them. Try to be nice to them. Try to give them courtesy service. Try to give them a reason to not look elsewhere. I cannot tell you enough just how important it is and how many clients I've retained, just because I don't give them a reason to break the inertia. I have a client right now that sends stuff that is literally, they are about 40 miles away. They are 40 miles away, and a lot of the times they're sending me things that, that nobody else is going to fix, but a lot of the stuff that they're sending me is stuff that literally, I'm not kidding, I did my research, that less than 3 fucking blocks away is a repair place that is not only cheaper than we are, not only are they 2 blocks away, they versus 30, 40 miles away, but they're also very, very reputable. And I realize that. And I appreciate the fact that they give me, again, I'm not going to match the prices. I don't feel like matching the price that far down, even though it is a fair market price. But I realize that, and I appreciate that. When I talk to you on the phone, I talk to you with that kind of excitement. I talk to you with that kind of just general happiness, which is you are somebody that I do business with. Every day you wake up and you choose to give me money. I'm going to smile a little bit. I'm going to laugh a little bit about that. I'm going to appreciate that. I'm going to treat you like somebody who every day wakes up and chooses to give me money when you could easily wake up and choose to give somebody else money. And I'm going to appreciate that. And what that does is that helps them not break the inertia and realize that, and I know this because the parking lot of this fucking place is like literally right next to that place. I know that they've noticed they're there, but what that's caused you to do is that's caused you to say, you know what? I don't have a reason to walk in there. And that is really what has helped me gain like about $5,780. I checked before I did this video. It's $5,780 this year in gross revenue from that place alone. Is that what's going to make or break me? No. Is that what's going to, determine whether or not I decide to hire a film crew and get a $12,000 4K camcorder for these videos, or if I just keep doing them in my office myself? No. but it is a decent chunk of change, and it's a decent chunk of change that I've been able to retain because I understand the value of inertia. And if I do that with 5 or 10 or 20 or 40 clients, that really adds up for me, and that adds up versus me just treating them all like crap. And this can be the difference between you retaining customers and having a business that grows, or you having a business that just kind of stays over here because you get those onesie customers and you get them in and out the door, and you technically did what it is you needed to do. You technically got what you needed to do done. You didn't do anything wrong. You didn't do anything that's going to cause you to get a chargeback. You didn't do anything that's going to get you to cause you to get a bad review, but you also didn't really do anything that's going to cause them to use you next time. You didn't do anything to give them that little light bulb in their brain that says, I am never going to research somebody else for this. I'm always going to use them just because. That's a feeling that I want to instill in all the people who do business with me. I want them to feel like, you know what? I don't even care if somebody else is $10 less for the same service with the same part and 5 minutes faster turnaround. I'm still going to go to this guy just because. And that just because is the fact that you could just kind of appreciate their business. So just realize the concept of inertia, understand how it affects people in their personal lives and in business, and understand how it affects people in technology, and understand it to the betterment of your business, so that you don't make the mistake that Microsoft made with Windows 8.0, so you don't make the mistake that the Holiday Inn made with me, because I know that, again, I'm going to be telling every single student that comes to this course, screw the Holiday Inn, you should stay here. And that's going to be, instead of you getting 5 or 10 people paying $1 to $150 a night, now you have nothing. And that, again, all that could have been avoided if you just had some basic appreciation for the fact that you're making a fuck ton of money for no work. But you didn't, and now the business is gone. And I don't want you guys to make that same mistake. It's about time to go to sleep. I got to be up in a few hours to do this course. I didn't realize until I've been coming out here, I've always had trouble sleeping. When I go to sleep, I think about all the things that went on over the course of the day and that have been going on and that may go on, and it's impossible for me to get to sleep. But eventually at home, I'll get to sleep at 12 or 1 in the morning. But when I'm away from home, I find it absolutely impossible to fall asleep, which is why I'm sitting here doing this video. And I'm going to try to hit the hay now, and hopefully I'm able to get 1 or 2 hours of sleep before I wake up and start teaching again. So have a good night.